The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injury and usurpation, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right to representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasion on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolution to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. How much of this sounds almost word for word where we are? He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary power. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salary. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these streets, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefit of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond sea to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the work of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, and to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, and to fall themselves by their hand. He has excited domestic insurrections among us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontier, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attention to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They, too, have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must, therefore, acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friend. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as a free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. He has refused his assent to law, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts. He has called together legislative bodies. You see, we see in the usurpations of this government, this president, this Congress, every one of these things has again come to pass. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent, his agreement, to laws for establishing judiciary power. May I remind you that this president and his head of the Department of Justice are protecting each other with executive authority to protect Eric Holder from civil and criminal contempt of Congress for refusing to participate with Congress in an investigation that took the life of an American, at least one, and hundreds of foreigners, because of an operation instituted by that Department of Justice representative, which was unconstitutional and illegal on its face. He's made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. That sounds like our courts today, where judges fall at the feet of the master for an appointment to a court that shall last a lifetime. Nowhere in our Constitution does it grant that judges should be granted a lifetime tenure, only that they may serve while in good behavior. Packing the court with people to institute his agenda would qualify. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. I would name the IRS, the EPA, the FDA, the FTA, the FCC, the ATF, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the NRO. There are literally thousands of agencies that are extra-constitutional in their nature. They have no authority to exist, and they have been created with the simple premise to harass our people and to eat out their substance. They are not solely from this president. He has created additional offices. He has given them the orders. But he is not responsible for all of their creation. He is keeping among us, in times of peace, a standing army without the consent of this nation. I submit to you the Department of Homeland Security and the private army that they're building, the literally billions of rounds of ammunition that they have purchased. They have no war-making mission. They have no international jurisdiction. So he has built an army based upon his own promise, as well-funded as our military. And it is a domestic army of oppression. He has made the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He is purging our most senior generals at an alarming rate. At latest count, the estimates are somewhere around 200 have been purged because they have not shown him the appropriate loyalty. The oath that your soldier takes today is not an oath to the Constitution, but an oath to the Commander-in-Chief. He is combined with others to subject us to foreign jurisdiction. I submit NAFTA, CAFTA, TPP, TTIP. I submit to you the United Nations. I submit that he is about to force us to violate our own sovereignty for the purposes of enveloping us underneath a corporate governance that will rule the planet and supersede all governments themselves. That isn't U.S. treason. That is treason against humanity. He gives assent to their acts of pretended legislation. Pretended legislation. He is quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. Your militarized local police forces, Department of Homeland Security, the USDA, the Post Office, the FCC. What do these people need armies for? Why do they need SWAT teams? Why is a USDA or a food inspector authorized to carry a machine gun? And he is quartering foreign troops on U.S. soil. He is aiding and abetting the enemy. He does protect them from punishment. Government, agents within government, individual officers have immunity from prosecution in their official function. Eric Holder is responsible directly, as is Barack Obama, as an accessory in the death of Brian Terry. That was their project. That was their program. They created it. They instituted it, implemented it, and it resulted in the death of an American citizen, at least one. And that makes them complicit and an accessory. He is cutting off trade with all parts of the world because he's destroying the bridges which we have so carefully built over the last 235 years. And he's substituting that for the acts of pretended legislation by usurping authorities that would undermine and supersede our Constitution, our rule of law, our judicial, legislative, and executive offices. And that is an open and blatant declaration of treason and war against the nation which he leads. He is imposing taxes on us without our consent. Think Obamacare. A mandate that you must enter into commerce in order to retain your standing as a citizen. And that a law created to force you to comply with that mandate forces you to give up your Fourth Amendment right against unreasonable search and seizure without probable cause, because the information that you submit can and will be, according to their own statement, used for investigatory, audits, and prosecution. So you have one modern law forcing you to violate your Fourth Amendment, which is precedent to even the Magna Carta itself. You're also forced by one law, a modern law, to violate your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, because you are forced to submit this information, which may well incriminate you. That is treason. He deprives us in all cases, in many cases, of the benefits of trial by jury. Oh, you don't believe so? Let me tell you something. Go to court under an administrative law judge that is a judge who sits on the agency that he's ruling on behalf of, and a conflict of interest cannot exist that is bigger than that. An administrative law judge for the USDA, an administrative law judge for every agency out there. You sit before a judge who is not a true judge of law, but a judge of rules and regulations promulgated, created, and instituted by that agency, which are not law, yet parade about as if they were. And that judge holds you accountable for rules and regulations by an agency that was created with unconstitutional, extra-constitutional usurped authority, delegated power that our Congress had no right to delegate to them, stolen from we, the people, and the consent of the governed. And there is no trial by jury. You are heard by an administrative law judge. Your case is decided by an individual administrative law judge who owes its allegiance to the very agency he's ruling on behalf of. He takes away our charters and abolishes our most valuable laws and alters fundamentally the forms of our government. That is absolutely the truth. We are abolishing our most valuable laws. Your right to free speech, your right to worship as you choose. your right to free speech and and your ability to redress your grievances with your government, your ability to bear and possess and own arms, to protect yourself exactly from tyrants like this. Your Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable search and seizure of your person, your effects, and your home without probable cause. This tracking device is monitored every day. Where is the probable cause? Where is it? Is the probable cause because of the fact that we breathe and fog a mirror? The megalomaniacal paranoia of this government should be as plain as the nose on your face to everyone. And he is waging war against his own people. The NSA, the NRO, the ATF, the EPA, the FDA, the USDA, the FCC. Look around you. The agencies that berate you and beat you daily. They are your oppressors, and they are created by this self-same government that needs to be placed back under constitutional authority. Strict, express constitutional authority. He is transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the work of death, desolation, and tyranny. Don't believe me? Go check how many of our foreign military bases are housing foreign military individuals. Oh, they're there for training. I forgot. The truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, the series of abuses that we have allowed this government to build on us over decades and generations has reached a culmination and a point where if we do not stop it, we will fall victim to it. We are falling victim to a fascist merger of corporate interests and government combining to result in your destruction. So I call on you, America, to arise and be counted, to be fierce, to be fearless and courageous, and to speak out even when your voice shakes. Because if you will not fight now, when this battle can be easily won without bloodshed in a peaceful manner, if you won't fight when this victory is sure and not too costly, we will come to the moment when we will have to fight with all of the odds against us and a bare, if not precarious, chance of survival. And if we do not take action then, we will fall into an even worse case, one in which we will fight with no hope of victory and sure destruction. Because in the words of Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. The truth is, we've reached the point where to continue to ignore this will result in our demise, our enslavement, and until our demise arrives. Torture, perdition, destruction, the rape and the loss of everything that you have ever known, everything that you hold dear. Do you not see and smell and sense it coming apart? Do you not smell the smoke? Then open your eyes and look, because the fire is right before you. Can't you feel that heat on your skin? Liberty must, at all hazards, be supported. We have a right to it, derived from our Maker. But even had we not, our fathers have earned and bought it for us at the expense of their ease, their estates, their pleasure, and their blood. John Adams. Listen again. Liberty must, at all hazards, be supported. We have a right to it, derived from our Maker. But even if we had not, our fathers have earned and bought it for us at the expense of their ease, their estates, their pleasures, and their blood. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that time is up. And you will rally to save liberty at all hazard. Or you will go into that dark night a slave. You're listening to America's Voice now. I'm asking you to take this episode, whether you catch it in the full audio file or burn it onto a DVD, email it to a friend, download it, send it over to someone, sit around a table with 5 friends and listen to it and openly discuss it and talk about the pros and the cons. I don't even care if you agree with me. Open the topics in the line of discussion. Share this with your church, your friends at school. Have an open discussion about this, please. I don't care about it. I don't even care if you don't give me credit. I don't care. Take my name out of it. Play this, listen to it, educate yourself, find the information, read about it, and help us to preserve our nation and our very lives. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.